Hello and welcome to episode 3 of A Moment of Honor with the Sanctuarian. Today I am lucky enough to have Mr. Rick Tamlyn here joining us. Everybody say hello.
Hello.
Awesome.
Hello, world of us who are whoever you are. Hello.
Yes. So I'm so excited to have Rick Tamlyn here today. He's the author of Play Your Bigger Game and also the co-creator.
Just to be clear, ready to go. Always ready.
I love it. So just to start off, tell us a little bit about what you're up to in the world, what kind of work you're into. Some of us who may not know can learn a little more.
Thank you. First of all, thrilling to be here with you, Jocelyn. You're doing good work in the world and getting other people's good work into the world. And isn't that the game we're in together?
Yes.
So, I will bottom line it. I have been an addict, in the best sense of the word, of personal growth and leadership development, which for me is all one pie. I try not to slice it out, but I've been a trainer of leadership skills, a trainer of life coaching skills, have been a part of the Coaches Training Institute, which is now the Coactive Training Institute for the last 27 years, bringing, if you will, personal development and leadership development skills to the world. That's where this book came in, after having been with, I don't know the number, tens of thousands of people around the globe, because I've literally been in, I think it's up to 30 different countries, training and speaking and, doing my thing. The Bigger Game philosophy was birthed out of listening to people's stories. And so this philosophy and this technology, if you will, and this simple model that I created came out of being with people and their desire to make a difference with their lives. So that's who I am. And I have my own program in the world now called Produce You. Not going to go down the details of that, but you can already hear it in the title. People need help in being produced, co-produced with their good work in the world. Because they don't know what to do, and the social media and the overwhelm and the confusion and the what do I believe? And I work with people who are like, I want my good stuff in the world. And I, by the way, want it to be sold and purchased. Mm-hmm. So, there's the whole money conversation inside that as well. So for those of us in the heart-centered entrepreneurial space, that whole money conversation can feel very like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. And yet I know thousands of people who are suffering, sort of their impact they want to have with their life is suffering because the income is not happening. Absolutely. So the impact is lost because the income is compromised.
And I think you just touched on it a little bit, is a big piece of the work that you do in working with all of those in your program, mm-hmm. and just those who attend your event as well, which we'll talk about in a little bit, mm-hmm. Is really kind of just wanting to increase their impact in the world.
Yeah.
Most people just, it's not all about making the money. It's not all about making a world change. They really just want to make it an impact to those around them. So tell us a little bit about how you kind of go about that when you're working with clients.
Yeah. Well, I'll lead in with another core belief I have, and then it will lead into what I do. But again, a core belief. This is what I believe about human beings in a broad stroke philosophical understanding. For those of you that are listening, take it or leave it. It might be even a little bit provocative, which I'm hoping it is. Just think about this, everybody. We are here to create. We are creative beings. We come into this earth. I don't want to get too spiritual about it, but we are plopped into this planet, God willing. How that happens, that's for a different workshop. That's a whole different thing. Whatever you believe about how we got here, that's a cool thing. You go write that book. But somehow we got here. And just notice, in our DNA, we create families. Mm-hmm. The desire to procreate. The desire to create. Mm-hmm. Create businesses. Create recipes. Create relationships. I mean, if you go down the list, it all comes under this umbrella of we're here to create. Mm-hmm. And I believe when we get to the end of our life, and this is sort of my dad speaking through me now. He's no longer with us, but he's very much with me in spirit. And, you know, I know many of you believe that sort of the voice of a loved one lives in us. Mm-hmm. My dad was a guy who didn't actually get to create what he really wanted to create. He survived in life, and he was very good at it. He had a job. He was a provider. And he was a provider. He was not a creator. Mm-hmm. But the creative part of him, at the end of his life, he kept talking to me about, you know, if I had to do it over again, I would have auditioned for more theater. He was a theater guy. I would have, you know, you could kind of fill in the blank. I would have done more of this. Mm-hmm. So that philosophy that we're here to create, just think about that, everybody. You're here to create. Now, the goal inside of that is, well, what does that look like? How do I make it real? You know, being creative is a cool bumper sticker. You know, we're here to create. Great bumper sticker.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Mm-hmm. You know, and somebody came along, you know, I have a Starbucks cup in my hand. Somebody came along and said, we're going to create a different experience for coffee, because they didn't invent coffee. They created a different experience with coffee. Right. The rest is history. Steve Jobs came along and said, you know, I want the world to actually be more creative, and created the tools to be more creative. Mm-hmm. That's why, by the way, this is my opinion. That's why Apple is the #1 company in the world, because he tapped into, we are all creatives. I'll help you make a movie. I'll help you make a song. I'll help you write a book. I'll help you put your creativity into the world. So he tapped right into the creative part of ourselves, and we had to have the product.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how I do that, lots of conversations, lots of brainstorming, lots of tactical strategic plans, because here's the challenge. To stay with your creative plan is really challenging, because it's easier to be distracted by somebody else's creativity rather than take responsibility for your own. Absolutely. Many people are watching other people's creativity because they're in the entertainee side. Mm-hmm. I want to be entertained. And yet inside they're like, how do I want to do? What's my version of that? Now, I want to be careful. This is not absolute for everybody, but my clients, this is what it's for.
Yes.
It's a long answer. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you had mentioned that you had been in 30 different countries, doing bigger game workshop. Now, how has the last 18 plus months of the pandemic kind of changed the way that you do business?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we have read articles. I am one of those people that if you read an article and you saw the word pivot in it, which we, you know, how many of us are exhausted by that word now, because like, it's time to pivot. You know, and meanwhile, just to be really, slow this down for a second, to be really respectful of the challenge and the illnesses and the loss of life, you know, as this has been unfolding and continues, by the way. So there's this ability to be with, there's lots of darkness and shadow and scary stuff going on. At the same time, need to take responsibility for my life. Right. And so to be literal, how it changed, we used to do events. We used to do live workshops. I've been doing a live, what is called an event. It's really an experiential workshop for many people, a couple hundred people. We did them live, various locations around the country, upstate New York, Minneapolis. And along came the shutdown, as we all know. And, you know, true story. Chuck and I, my business partner and my life partner, well, you know, the month was probably, we had an event on the books for a live event in October. So this is the 2020, probably around, I think it was May or June. You know, Chuck and I started, we have to cancel, obviously, nobody's going to come. So we're going to cancel and just stop. The election was going to happen. I started to get caught in the mentality like nobody's going to want to come to a thing. Their head is in the election and the fear of COVID, and who's going to want to come to, right? I have a great team around me that I pay really good money for. And they kicked in a mastermind group that I'm a part of, and they kicked in and said, no, you're doing this virtually. And we have a TV studio for you to go to. And Rick, you're going to design a virtual 3-day experience. Changed our business. It tripled our business, by the way. It's the classic case of our business actually went bigger because all of a sudden, by the way, here's the pragmatic part. People aren't spending money on planes to go to an event. People are not spending money on food at the event. People don't have to actually, dress up that much. So, the missing part was the fun cocktails and the evening and that part is harder to miss. And I missed that part. But the upside was an event. So sure enough, we go to a TV studio. I design this 3-day experience. We send people stuff in the mail. It's interactive. I hire a Broadway singer to open, and I hire singers along the way to keep us entertained. It's all contextually and interactive based. There's breakout rooms, highly interactive. And it has changed the way I want to do it. Long-term plan, I think there's about another couple of years of this, I think, with where we are right now. But I make up that in like 3 years or so, all the people that I've touched in my life, all the people who have known me or something, like we are going to do a fantastic sort of blow the windows out sort of event in Palm Springs, California. So be on the lookout 2 or 3 years from now. Like it's time to gather everybody, like finally safe and but that's the pivot. And thank you Zoom. Right? I mean, let's just go to the acknowledgement of the technology was just there at just about the right time.
Yes.
And it forced the issue of being creative. Zoom got really busy. They're like, we got to help people do this better. All these technology, what can we help them do? I was like, oh my God, watch them go. And we all know what happened. The stock goes through the roof. And right. So, creativity comes out of pain most of the time. We don't change until it's painful.
Exactly.
And we actually had to change because this is too painful. This isn't working. And, so I hate to say that, but we love to be motivated by the dream of something better. But most of the time we actually change because this is not working. Yeah. That was a classic case of this couldn't work. There was no getting on a plane. We all know this is not a story we don't all know. So did I answer that question?
You did. Well, and I think what's nice about it is, though the pandemic itself is a very kind of negative content, there's so much positivity that really came out of it. A lot of people were able to expand and think outside of the box and really be more creative in their work.
Correct.
They had more time. They weren't traveling all of the time. And they had new technologies coming out to help them do that quicker and more efficient in the platforms that came out.
Right.
And so I definitely think that there's good and bad things about it. And I know one of the things that comes up in both of our worlds a lot is like the Zoom fatigue. And one of the things that I love that you kind of present, because I know you do pop-up calls, you do different challenges and trainings, all virtual, is that it's more about making that experience experiential and having it be interactive so that you don't have the fatigue. You kind of forget that you're in front of a computer screen. You've
heard me say Zoom fatigue is not because of the user. Zoom fatigue is because of the presenter. Because I think I said it the other day on one of our group calls to our clients. We're all watching television. I don't know if many people watch television a lot. That's a 2D experience. We sit there for hours.
Yes.
It's because it's entertaining. So Zoom is TV.
Yes.
We've got to reframe what Zoom really is. And it's got to be entertaining. And I got to make my voice a little bit louder and be with it and move my head around a little, and how do I make this become a little more entertaining? You're naming one of the key components, I think, to a good Zoom experience is the breakout session. I'm a fan of train a concept, give people an idea to sit with, then have them apply it to their life in a conversation. Because the real transformation we want for people coaches, leaders, people in my space, happens through the application conversation, not just learning the concept.
Yes.
So that's where that happens. It happens off in the conversation. And then people come back to the group and then we talk about it, and right.
Absolutely.
That leans into the little bit of the sort of adult learning model around in the conversation is where the sort of, this is going to sound a little bit, in the land of woo-woo, but it's psychology. The collective consciousness goes up together because the conversation goes up together.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's a little bit of the concept too, just to link it to, Tony Robbins trained me in this years and years ago. We are primarily the sum of the 10 to 15 people we hang out in our daily lives.
Yeah.
No disrespect to the people, but if you hang out with a lot of people who are always complaining, what is that energy, right? We kind of know this stuff, but we just forget this stuff. So I'm having a really big hair day. Can I just have a moment?
I love it. It's okay. It's the life of virtual.
It is. It's very real and raw.
You're giving the real self. That's what we want.
Yeah.
So you mentioned before you wrote a book.
Yeah.
And I know you're in the process of writing a second one.
Slow going this time.
That's okay.
Yeah.
For those of our listeners out there that may be interested in writing a book, do you have one or two tips that you can give them, kind of look where to start, kind of where to go with it?
Yep. The best way to start a book is to journal. Just journal. And Brene Brown does this. I don't know if she's done it every single time, but I read an article about how she creates a book. She does Post-its. And I do Post-its. They're a little bit overwhelming, but if you were to show, if I moved my camera, you can't see them. But, well, actually, hang on, just for fun, I'm going to just try this.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you. Okay, first of all, it's
we're in the life of Rick Tamlyn here, everybody.
Right, so over there, okay, well, first of all, there's a carpenter. Okay, this is weird. But there's Post-its. I'm not really proving my point. There's a whole wall of Post-its I realize I can't get to. The point of this is writing a book. If you're in the personal development space, let's be clear. I'm not talking about writing a novel. I'm talking about personal development, self-help. That's pretty much people in my space, right? Leadership development in the human development space. Here's what I know. You listeners right now, you have insights about how life works better and how life doesn't work better because you're the researcher. Use yourself as the resource and journal stuff. You wake up, here's what I did this morning, just a clear example. I don't know why I woke up in this state. I work with a therapist, and he always reminds me, in the shadow part of life, it happens overnight. We don't remember about 95% of it, but we catch, right? But I woke up in a panic state. I just woke up panicked. Didn't know why, looked for the data, oh, is the stock market down? There's no data to back it up, right? I have good coaching calls today. Everything's working. So panic was not related to circumstances, okay? But I went for a walk because I go for a walk every day, and I take my phone. This is going to help you all figure out how to write a book. So then I did a little thing on my relationship with panic, because the panic had me rather than how do I be with my panic? Because panic tends to. So my point of this is use yourself as the resource for the wisdom.
Yeah.
Journal about it. And, the hardest part of writing a book for me is where do I capture the wisdom? Post-its, audio files, video files, journal, and then you take all of that. And for some of us, you are able to decipher that into a book. Others of us, go hire somebody and say, here. And there are people who do this, by the way. You can literally dump your wisdoms and your insights and your stories, by the way. You need good stories, although a good editor will help you come up with your stories. You give it to them, and they write the book. Now, they're a good editor, right? They're a good you know, so there's no reason. How do we want to say this? Being motivated to write a book is hard.
Yeah.
I'm doing a second book, and I'm not like, whoa, yay, out of bed, write my book, right? It's not. It's very Elizabeth Gilbert. I love her first talk, which she talks about, I go to my desk and my job is to write, because that's what I do. I'm a writer and I just write. Even if I write, I don't know what to write, but I'm here to write, so I must write. So there's that discipline. But then also, just everybody, if you're not going to do it, you got to capture the wisdoms and the insights of the human condition, but then hire somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be really transparent. I hired somebody to help me write this book. Like, I did not sit at a computer. I read a lot, but here's how I actually did it. I talked the entire book. I talked it. And then they went off and write it and wordsmithed it. And, you know, because I wasn't going to do that. So that's, you asked for a simple tip, and it's like a 20-minute answer.
Well, but I think it just speaks to all of the technologies and things that are out there nowadays that can help you. It's not just having to, okay, I have to be glued to a desk, I have to handwrite it all out. There's a lot of different things now and resources that can help kind of take a little bit of that burden off of, okay, I have to be creative all the time, where what I like that you bring up is it's really just about life experiences. Like you said, you record different audio, video files on your walk, things that may come up when you're not trying to drill it out of yourself. You're letting it come organically, which I think a lot of people may forget, is that they have so much wisdom and creativity within them that they just try to force it too much, when they just really need to kind of let it just come organically through their life.
And the other tip, I want to give you the other tip, is a book needs a provocative point of view. Not a cliche sentence that we've all heard, you know, like get a life, or, you know, you want to sort of come up with something like, what's the point of view that you have about life that's not motivational cliches, that's not been said before, but it's your core belief about how you think life works. You know, mine, you know, bigger game was a doorway in, and here's this phrase that goes with bigger game. What it does, by the way, when you offer a sentence that has people go, tell me more, right? So here's the one with bigger game. Playing a bigger game will design who you want to become. Kind of a little like, what does that mean, right? It's like, what does that mean? And then I get to talk about it, and of course it's in the book, and then it became a keynote, and I get to explain that. The second book is It's All Made Up. And then the parentheses is life is all made up. So people kind of go, really? Is it really? And, you know, I'm really able to go, yes, it's all made up. Religions are made up. Your relationship with money is made up. Companies are made up. That recipe you just tried is made up. And when you realize and you really step out of the circumstances of life and realize that you are responsible with life because you get to make it up, you know, that's a so that's the name of the second book, by the way, just so you all know. And here's another tip that's making it easier for me, and this is borrowed from another book. There's a couple of books that have influenced me this year that I'll just show. I love Seth Godin. Some of you know him, right? He wrote a book called The Practice Shipping Creative Work. Here's the cool thing about it. It's his journal entries, and it's his newsletter, his weekly newsletter topics. He just literally took, because he writes something every single week, took them all, probably had to write some more, and they're just numbered. And they're not sequential. They don't segue from one to the other. They're just independent, philosophical, cool concepts to get your good work into the world. So what I'm talking about is my book's going to be the same. Open up any page, read it, contemplate it, and then put it away. It's not a walk through this sequential story book, right? Because that's, by the way, that's meeting the energy of where the world is right now. The world is sound bites. right? We want to read stuff quick. We want videos to be quick. And so that book that I'm writing is based on that. And another woman that has touched me this year, Susie Moore, called Let It Be Easy. It's her journal. Simple ways to stop stressing and start living. Simple title, Let It Be Easy, right? You know, number 43, when you thrive, everyone wins. So again, journal entries or blog post or newsletter repurposed as a book.
Yeah.
Anyway, many of you are sitting on content that just needs to be put into a format. There's your book.
Okay. Absolutely. Well, and I think as entrepreneurs or small businesses, a lot of us overthink a lot of how it needs to go through. We go through, okay, we have to have this step, this step, this step, this step. And as you know, having that kind of structure does work, but certain structures don't work for everybody. So as an entrepreneur, what is one tip that you would give someone who is looking to kind of start their own passion project or business?
Yeah, I'm going to borrow one that I wish I'd made up, but it's from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. And for those of you that haven't read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Successful People, it's a must read. It's a classic. You all know it. What I love about classics is we have to go back to them once in a while to read them because they're so true. And when you read a book and it's like, oh yeah, I got it, but then you drift away from it. And those are those books that we go back to because they pull me back into the reality of, how this really works. So I forget what number it is. Begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. So business wise, time it like in 2 years. Actually, I would, if you're starting from scratch and zero, the 3-year model. You need 3 years, I dare say, to truly move from zero income or zero impact to the level of impact that kind of touches your heart and touches your wallet. Because we want both, by the way, for those of us that are in our space. It wants to touch our hearts and it also needs to touch our wallets. Or our pocketbooks or whatever, or our whatever this is. I mean, now it touch our apps, right? It's like money's now just going here, and it's like we're never going to see money again. We're just right.
So we have a great question that just came through. What is one piece of wisdom for entrepreneurs to kind of stop the squirrel distractions?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my God, I have 87,000 ideas. Right. Okay. The tip on focus. First of all, to let yourself off the hook, just want to normalize it. Like, welcome to your creative geniusness self. There's nothing wrong with you. Here's my definition of overwhelm. Too many creative ideas wanting to be made real at the same time. Now, isn't that a great reframe on overwhelm? And because I'm a little over the overwhelm word. It's everywhere. Like, I'm overwhelmed. Okay, I got it. What that means is you got too many creative ideas and you got too many balls in the air. And so the tip is, I would pick one concept, whatever that is, like, or one tip you have, if I'm talking to whoever's watching. What's their name, by the way?
Jeff.
Okay. So, Jeff, the one idea, and then give it one home of expression. What I mean by that is it a blog post? Is it a Zoom class? Is it a chapter in a book? Give it a home so the creative idea is made real.
Yeah.
And then you can go on to the next one. But creative ideas or wisdoms, if you will, that don't land somewhere, create pain. You can feel it. It's like I go to bed and I didn't do that blog post today. I didn't do that Facebook Live. I mean, Jocelyn, you're my coach in keeping me on social media. Just to all let you know, she's like, hey, Rick, where are you? I'm doing client calls, so it's not like I'm on the couch. but creative idea needs a home. Think about it like a recipe. Like, I wonder what chocolate chip cookies would be like made out of walnut flour. Okay, there's a creative idea.
Yeah.
Go bake the cookie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's that simple. I mean, I don't make it complicated. But there's nothing wrong with us because of the overwhelm. But we've got to give, and this is I mean, I know I'm off on a tangent, but I love this book, Elizabeth Gilbert, Big Magic.
Yeah.
By the way, this one was the pre-press one. She spoke at our event. So she sent me, her team sent me before it was published. So it was not even out yet. But anyway, the concept of this is creative. This is one of her core beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And she did a little research on it and asked a lot of other people, and kind of a lot of people kind of aligned with it. Try it on. I think it's cool. There's creative ideas floating around in the universe. Like they're just floating around, right? There's this,
Yeah.
and they come into us and say, I think you should make a new coffee brand, right? I either act on it or I don't.
Yeah.
And if we don't act on it, this is the bizarre part. It will find another home,
Mm-hmm.
meaning it will find another human to make it real. How do I know this? How many airport bookstores have I been in where I'm walking through, and I'm like, oh my God, they wrote the book.
Yep.
Right? And I'm like, oh, because I thought of it 6 months ago. I didn't act on it. Well, they did.
Mm-hmm.
So the tip is action into making it real.
Yeah.
And what is really cool now and really overwhelming, here I am using that word, at the same time, is we have every medium available to us in history to make it real.
Yes.
We didn't have that before. So I get pretty upset with people but I get like, you have every means to make it real. You can write your own book. You can make your own movie. You can do your own song, all on one device that lives 5 inches away from your finger.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the paradox of that. That's actually, it forces us to take responsibility. We used to be able to blame, well, I can't hire a TV studio to make a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get into a recording studio. I can't afford that. Thank you, Apple.
Yeah.
Or any other, right? So what I think is really going on, Jocelyn, is we are confronted by the personal responsibility of having to make our creativity real, and we don't want to take responsibility for it.
Well, and I think another piece that holds a lot of people back is by putting their good work out there, keeps it subject to be judged.
Totally.
And that is just crippling for some. And
I agree.
And just to kind of add on to what you were saying with your tip is, I don't think, well, if you have a list of all of these creative things, write them down.
Yeah. Yeah.
It may not be something that
you
is
act
good for right now.
Correct.
But
or maybe never.
Exactly. But by writing it down and being able to, like you said, pick one, devote the time and put into action that one, then you can come back to a list and say, oh, okay, that's not really where I wanted to go with this. Or, yeah, this is going to be the next big thing. Then you can kind of weed those out a little bit without putting all these things in and confusing yourself, confusing your viewers, things like that. You're able to kind of have more of that structure with it.
Well, related to, I just dance in the tip inside of that, and it comes right from Apple. I'm a fan of Apple.
Yes.
How they created it. I mean, out of the ashes comes the largest company in the world. And this week, by the way, they're going to pass $3 trillion in value, the largest company in the world in history. Right or wrong, that's what's happened.
Yeah.
You know what their number one skill that Stephen Jobs said we need to get good at is the word no. No. Because there were too many creative ideas all happening at once. And he'd go, nope, we're not doing that one. No, 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 yes, no, 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 maybe. He said no was, and just think about it, the largest company in the world sells 3 things. A computer, a phone, and a watch.
Yep.
Maybe an iPad. It's kind of a big phone in my land.
Yeah.
it's so, we we forget. We want to say yes creates the pain.
Yes.
And you and my dear sweet partner and husband, and you are the voice of no, we're not doing that right now. Right now we do an event. It's called Produce You. That's what you're focusing on. And no, you're not doing that because you have clients to talk to. So 2 projects in my life, clients, 2 projects, 2 big things that I hold. Current clients, 35 clients, get a lot of attention. Love that. Event gets my attention.
Yeah.
And by the way, inside that event is where my creativity happens. Oh, what do I want it to sound like? What do I want it to feel like? What Broadway song do I want this year? Now my creativity has a home to be made real called an event.
Absolutely. So now that you had a perfect segue into it, let's go ahead and tell our viewers about the event that's coming up.
Yes. Okay. So our event is, Josh, you're going to help me remember the dates.
Yes.
April. There's a lot of things coming out of us. So if you're on our, I'll just actually do the commercial. Please get on our email list, ricktamlyn.com, if you're not already, because there's a lot of things we're offering over the next couple of months, lots of free things. You all understand how this works. You want to experience me. If you don't know me, you like what he says. So lots of things are coming out in that land. And it's all pointing people towards, and you'll hear me talk about it more and more after the first of the year, this event. It's called Produce You, the event. Mm-hmm. It's April
28th through the 30th.
That's why I have people.
Yes.
28th through the 30th. It is a 3-day and actually goes into the evening. Very, what do I want to say? Intentionally designed activational experience. It's a lot of jargon words for, it's not just a stop by and check in for 2 seconds. Its job is to actually create and activate and motivate and start the wheel in motion about your good work in the world.
So our lovely trio of a partner in this actually corrected us on the dates, the 27th through the 29th.
Oh, 27, 28, 29.
Correct.
Okay, good. Thank God, it takes a village.
We've got it.
27, 28, 29.
Yes.
Just to get to the details, it starts at 10 o'clock East Coast time in the mornings. Okay. Absolutely. Highly interactive, lots of breakouts, cool guest speakers, entertainers. We send you stuff in the mail to use during the event. I'm very proud of what we've created. We've done this now 3 times. Yeah, I think 3 times we've done a virtual event. And we do here, I'm going to kind of maybe be a little egotistical or I'll just be proud. We get great feedback on the event. Like there's an interview I did with a woman last week. She's a 911 operator. That's her job. Right? And I don't know how she got to this event, social media, found out.
Yeah.
And after the event, she just called me, or actually texted us, I think, or direct message, doesn't matter, and said, I don't know who you are. I didn't know what I was coming to, but you so got me clear on the work I really want to be doing. 911 was her job. And then she realized she really wanted to help people who are suffering from trauma. Mm-hmm. So she's actually creating some work around trauma relief. Because, of course, where did she learn that? As a 911 operator. So she's starting her own trauma relief training and teaching and coaching, if you will. So that's a good example of somebody who came to this event, don't even know what I'm coming to, but the metaphor is we're here to produce you, to jumpstart your production, your stuff in the world.
Absolutely.
So
and so I've gone ahead and put in the chat too Rick's website as well as the event website, so that you can learn all about the event and everything that he just explained, as well as getting onto their mailing list so that you get all of the updates for the event and any upcoming trainings. So also, I just want to kind of point out that they can also follow you on social media. Yeah. If you want to go ahead and share with them where they can follow you there.
You want me to say it? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There's so on Facebook, there's my personal page, but my business page, my professional page is Rick Tamlyn's Bigger Game. Just Google, do search inside Facebook, Rick Tamlyn's Bigger Game. That's where I do my messaging and my insights and my sort of, the professional side of me. Although, there's a lot of overlap. Personal and professional for me is all one these days. So that's that. And then Rick Tamlyn on Instagram.
Yes.
Right. Pretty straightforward there. And doing more and more there because I'm being told that's where it's happening.
Yeah.
Instagram, it's where it's happening. We just learned, and I learned because I need to keep learning all of this too. Because by the way, there's a learning curve to all of this, everybody. And by the way, for my own life, if there's no new learning curve, I might as well be dead. So I'm a fan of learning curve. Like, I need to learn this. Oh, cool. Keeps me in the game. But we learned in Produce You, the group, we have a year-long program, by the way, that Produce You, the event, sort of jumpstarts that. And generally, we have between 30 and 35 people in this year-long support structure to really get your work in the world, like no kidding. Anyway, in that support structure and training, we had a guest come in who literally has created a multiple six-figure business in the land of food and eating healthier and that territory, all from social media and emails and social media. And I was like, wow, right? And she does it a lot. She's one of those people that has actually become an influencer on social media. And, so I've had a couple people this week tell me it's time to become an influencer. And I'm like, what does that mean? And then I get all nervous, but, we know who these people are. And if you're listening right now or you're watching this later, I think a litmus test for yourself is to go, I want to be one of those people. Instead of watching one of those people, I want to be one of those people.
Yeah.
And ever since I was in a workshop 35 years ago, as soon as I was a participant, I don't know why, but I said, I want to be the person in front of the room leading this workshop. Yes. And if you're one of those people that instead of watching it wants to lead it or be in front, you're in perfect company. Come join us. So I want to kind of move people from a watcher, wisher, hoper to, no, I'm one of those people. I'm now one of those people.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, I just want to thank you, Rick, for joining me today and sharing all of your wisdom. And again, all of his social media tags are in the comments, as well as the link to his website to subscribe and get on that mailing list, and the event website as well to learn a little bit more about Produce You, the event. And I want to just thank everybody for listening. Any last minute questions? It looks like we're just getting...
Can I just say I just want to say one more thing. And I want to be really transparent about this so people kind of get it. You're going to see lots of free stuff come out. And, like there's a pop-up call. We call them a pop-up training call tomorrow.
Yes.
Right. And I know people kind of go, oh, people start to learn, oh, that's he's going to be enrolling his event. That's true. But I also want to make sure that I want you all to know I go off and think about concepts and new content for all of these calls. So whether you come to my event or not, I'd love you to. But I so hope you hear this. I'm not just doing it for the event. I'm doing it because it keeps me in the game. It keeps me engaged. It keeps me sort of fired up because basically I'm training stuff that I need. So I'm inviting you to come to all the stuff I do, whether you come to the event. God, yes, I'd love you to come. And you're going to hear me talk about it ad nauseum, probably a little bit. But I want to make sure that it doesn't turn itself into, oh, I'm not going to go to one of his things because that's just him enrolling his event. The enrollment part is like 3 minutes, or the come to my event, quote unquote offer, or, you're going to, that's 3 minutes. So I just wanted to say that because people start to put it into a category of, oh, that's him just doing that thing. Yes, and I love being in front of rooms, and this is the way it happens now.
Yes.
Being on a Zoom call or being with you, or Because left to my own devices and not doing this work, I start to devolve. And I know many of you get that. Is when I'm not doing my thing, I start to sink. So part of this is selfish for me to keep in the game and to keep my creative spirits high by doing these calls. So join me. I hope that makes sense to everybody. Can you just ask, does that make sense to people?
Yes, it looks like it.
They might have, when we were over time, so we might have lost them, but
it's okay. All right. All right, everyone. Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks,
and tune in on Thursday for our next episode. And thank you again, Rick, for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day, everybody.
Go play your bigger game.
Yes.